you think it will take for a political party or political candidate in order to survive in the next general election, which could be 2 years away or could be any time, according to our Prime Minister?
Yeah. It has been a very challenging time post-2008 because I think it really has unearthed a new sort of awakening for voters, not just the young, but a whole group of people who are more aware of their rights and what legislators are supposed to do and what MPs are supposed to fulfill. And of course, for Pakatan Rakyat side, winning 5, some might say 6 states, including Kuala Lumpur, it has been sort of a more challenging terrain. Previously, being in opposition is quite clear-cut what you needed to do. But I think with the advent of social media, with the advent of internet media, and as well as other publications, criticisms have been brought to the fore, and people have been more demanding, and they want to know what are your plans, post or pre the next general elections. So I think right now is the challenge of getting the youth to be involved. I think even for the DN side, for Pakatan, it's a race to get young voters to be registered before the next general elections. And for me, all parties also need to stay on focus, need to be relevant with what is wanted for the future generation. And we cannot let what happened in 1999, where 680,000 voters were denied their right to vote, mainly youngsters, by virtue because we have an archaic and pathetic election voter registration system. So I think in this particular round, I really, really want us to focus on ensuring everyone who's eligible to vote get that right. And it has to be something that has to be worked on by all members of Parliament. Even tonight, I really would like us to work together because Tony Po has rightly pointed out, it's very difficult for the EC, we have limitations in terms of forms, etc. But if the youth, the UMNO Youth Chief joins forces with us, I'm sure the EC would do anything, everything in their power to register young voters. And I'm sure all of you here, wouldn't you want to make sure everyone who's eligible to vote get that right? Absolutely. So Khairy, over to you, Khairy.
I think initially we learned our lessons quite well. I'm talking about the Barisan Nasional and UMNO. But I'm of the increasing view, and this view tends to intensify every day, that we may have taken our foot off the pedal. I see a little bit of a disconnect between what the Prime Minister is doing and what the party is doing. And this disconnect existed before previous Prime Minister, before Datuk Seri Najib became Prime Minister. And this disconnect isn't just in terms of ideology, commitment to reform, but it's also a disconnect in terms of perception. Now, you can argue however you want about the approval ratings that the Prime Minister has been receiving, 72% according to the Merdeka Center. But it's a tracking poll, and it's a certain sample that they repeat. So there is some utility in looking at that tracking poll. So he is getting popular. How popular, we can argue about that. But the problem is, if you look at the approval rating for parties, especially UMNO, it lags far behind. It lags far behind the Prime Minister. So what people are telling us is that they like what he's trying to do, but it might be an exercise in futility because the party isn't reforming along with him. So for me, that's the biggest challenge, the biggest concern, is that there's no sense of urgency within the party. And I wrote about this in The Edge, which was published yesterday, in terms of our attitudes towards affirmative action, which we can talk about later. But again, the disconnect is quite scary for me, because I see that the PM wants to do the right things, he's put in place reforms in the government, economic policy, but the political will that comes with it largely comes from the party itself. And to what extent that's going to be successful, and that's a battle, an ideological battle, if you like, that's taking place today. So for me, the biggest challenge for UMNO really is whether or not we can fully commit ourselves to these reforms. Now, just taking the point that was raised by YB Izzah just now about registration. Look, I'm in full agreement that that the system isn't great. But I would like for all of us to actually go further than that, go further than fixing the system at its margins, but rather actually asking the government to just amend the constitution so that everybody can vote without having to register. I mean, it's ridiculous. You have to go and register. Some people don't know how to register. Some people try to register and they can't. Tony said can't get enough forms. Whatever the case may be. I mean, it is a right, and you shouldn't have to register. I mean, this whole excuse saying that it's a choice, it's constitutional, that it's a choice. It's a choice whether or not you want to vote, but it's not a choice for you to register. That should be an automatic right. So I'm going to leave it at that.